Hello, good morning. I mean, at least good morning here on the West Coast.
Morning.
Good afternoon to my East Coast friends.
No, it's always morning here.
It's always morning. Okay, so
Always
it's always morning in Casually Comics Sunday
Actually, Comic
Chat
Sunday
Church. Mars, how are you doing?
I'm good. It is finally feeling like fall around here. I can finally start wearing my hoodies, drinking even more iced coffee than I normally do, and just, oh my god, I'm so glad summer go away. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it feels like kind of bittersweet to me because I think I spent a lot more time inside this year during summer, even last year, like with, the pandemic being a little bit fresher. I think I still made a lot more time to like get out, whereas this summer I stayed in and didn't take advantage of the sunshine. And now like I can feel the Pacific Northwest doing that like cold, cloudy, weather, which I love, but I'm like, man, I wish I would have taken advantage of like one day of sunlight. I heard that it was supposed to be sunny today, so I might try to go. I'm going to go to my comic shop today again, but I'm going to try to take advantage of it for sure.
For sure.
For sure. Let me go ahead, and we've got some people in the chat. I don't know if they're still there because we went on a little bit later than normal. So let's see. And of course, we've got our friend Travis, Station Travis. Thank you so much for being here. And we've also got our friend Brandon, Comics Kings. Thank you so much for being here, fighting over who got here first. Sorry, folks. It was Travis. It was TM Nerdy. We've got beautiful co-host Mars here. We've also got DC Patrol. Hello. Azores Tiger. I'm probably 1,000% mispronouncing that, so I deeply apologize. Two of my favorite ladies right here. Whew. Thank you. Did it skip? Nope. We've also got Niall here. Hello. Hello, everyone. And then Miss So, afternoon ladies in chat, going to be listening and lurking today.
Yay!
And then, hello. Okay. So that's it for the chat so far. If anyone else is in the chat, you want to say hello, I'll pop your comment up there. So let's get started. If everything is all good, I know that there was a little bit of news. We normally start off with news. For me, this was really exciting. I had about 100 people tell me about it. The Sandman trailer came out.
How are you feeling? Are you still alive?
I am still alive. The Sandman trailer looks beautiful. It looks like shot for shot the first issue of Sandman. So I'm really, really excited. Hi, Jen. By chance, you free for a couple hours next weekend? Let's do it, Bueller. So, yeah. Good to go, Bueller. Message me on Instagram. So with the Sandman trailer, like, I think Neil Gaiman once said, I'd rather have no Sandman like movie show adaptation than have a bad one. And this one looks so beautifully perfect. I've watched it like at least 100 times. As someone,
so it's basically me, but with the Hawkeye trailer.
Exactly. I still watched the Hawkeye trailer a couple times, but probably not as much as you. You watched the Sandman trailer, and I know you did not like Sandman. So I mean, we're still friends. My heart is broken. I know you didn't like Sandman. How do you feel? I feel like it should be, how do you feel about Sandman?
I love the concept of Sandman. I truly do. I as I have said on the show several times, have goopy gobble brain. So you actually sent me the first trade of Sandman last year with the hopes of that I would fall in love with it, and I absolutely broke your heart when I was like, Jen,
you did.
I can't even finish this. Please send help. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because it's a bad book, because it definitely is one of those iconic books. It's a book that if you are in comics, you should at least attempt. But for somebody like me, I've said it before, I struggle with reading anything that isn't modern, and Sandman came out in what, like the 80s?
It came out so the same year I was born. Yeah.
That is ironic.
Isn't it? It's funny.
That is very ironic.
Curiously enough, because I have a tattoo of death over here on my shoulder, and Curious enough, the year I turned 30, Sandman turned 30, and the woman who inspired the look for death, her name was Cinnamon Hadley, passed away of cancer. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and get my death tattoo. So quick little short story there.
But Sandman, it's a great premise. I love the premise of it, but being that it's from the 80s, it can be a little rough to get through. Especially for somebody like me who, again, I read modern comics. So I definitely appreciate why so many people love it. But for somebody like me, I definitely feel like it's something where if it's adapted, you know, as we're going to see it as it is a TV show, right? It's not a movie.
Yeah.
Seeing it
I
as a
assume.
TV
Yeah.
show, I'm very, very excited because that's where my appreciation will come in. I will be able to appreciate it a lot more in show form. It's very similar with something like Dune. I cannot, for the love of me, read that many pages. I can't do it. I physically cannot do it. Am I excited for that movie? Absolutely. I think I'm going to have a lot more enjoyment with it, you know, in a visual format than I do in, say, a reading format. And that's how I feel with Sandman.
You know, it's so funny because I was talking, Dan from Comic Chop News and we discussed the Dune movie last night. And of course, we became friends over the internet because of our shared love of Dune and our shared Dune tattoos. And so we talked about the movie, and I've said it before, and I really think that even though the 1984 Dune movie is not that great, I would 100% recommend watching the Dune movie. And then I think that that'll help readers read the Dune book, because then at least you get some like idea, even though it's visualization, even though the adaptation is horrible, especially the beginning. I would say go into it. So maybe watch Sandman and then try to read the book.
Very possible.
Or I wouldn't mind just being here to like reread it with, or try to do a buddy read.
Yeah.
Sorry, gotta take a sip.
We also had on top of, because the Sandman thing, it's a Netflix exclusive. So Netflix kind of dropped its own little like Nintendo Direct, if you will, where they announced and had trailers. There was a Nintendo Direct of all of like their new trailers and things that were coming out. We saw The Witcher season 2, which Henry Cavill, if you're out there, please listen, because Henry I know watches the show. Henry's a huge fan of the show.
Hi, Henry.
Watches us every Sunday. Please DM me. Very excited for Witcher season 2, but we also had the trailer for the live action Cowboy Bebop. And it is a basically direct recreation homage to the original opening. And I don't know if you know this, I love Cowboy Bebop. That is probably my comfort show. I get depressed, I pop on Cowboy Bebop and I'm at home. I don't know how I feel about a live adaptation, because something like Cowboy Bebop is so perfect. I don't need anything else. I really don't need anything else.
I think too, like Cowboy Bebop, more so than like the plot, is so character driven, and the characters are so like zany, if you will. So I think that might be hard to like directly translate on screen. I think that it looks beautiful, and I think that some of the, like, at least some of the aesthetic changes that I've seen look good so far. So I am excited for the Cowboy Bebop show, as someone who loves the anime, and it was one of those. I don't know if I'm breaking anyone's heart, but anime is something that I've never like. I like anime, but I don't know if I love anime, especially if I think like the way that I love comic books. But like Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, Akira, those were the animes that like I fell in love with when I started watching them. But there's only a handful. Like those are the ones that I really, really love. So it's going to be this bittersweet. Do I love it? Do I not love it? Does it ruin my love for the original? But when I think about something like Sandman, I'm so pumped from what I saw. I don't know. I'm just glad that we're living in the golden age of streaming television. I don't have to think about
and
real
golden
life
age of nerddom.
Yeah, I don't have to think about any of the world's problems, climate change, and
financial ruin.
Yeah, I don't have to think about any of that. I can just stream and not even worry about being an adult at all. So Any other news that you saw or
No,
that you can think of?
it was a slow week this week. I think, at least I personally think it was a slow week, not only for just news in general, but I think for comics in general. I only had about 8 books that I picked up this week, and two of them actually were cover buys, so that left me with
Wow.
yeah, I only had about 7 books this week, so it's been pretty slow, but I've got a feeling it's gonna pick up.
Yeah.
I can feel October settling in, and it's just gonna come full force at us with everything it's got.
Yeah, and I think too, for those of you who don't know, there is like some shortages happening. I feel like it's definitely DC has been kind of vocal about pushing things back. I don't know about other publishers, but DC has been a little bit vocal about the books that they announced that they've pushed back because of this like paper shortage and
Wonder
things
Woman
like that.
Historia
Yep.
got pushed back. At this point, I'm convinced we're never going to see Wonder Woman Historia. That is a book that has been
No.
teased and circulated for about
Yeah.
3 years now. We're
Hmm.
never going to see it. I'm going to say it now. It's never going to happen.
So I think that maybe that's not necessarily this week, but I think that we're going to see that more and more. I think especially next year, we're going to see a lot of shortages. We're going to see a lot of like pushbacks and things like that. So that's what I'm going to blame this weird kind of slow week on.
Paper
I
shortages.
still, yeah, paper shortages. I got a lot of books this week. This is not my whole stack because I can't find the rest of my stack because I'm depressingly unorganized.
My
But
tiny stack.
and so this week, DC was also late with their shipment, and my shop has about 12 books waiting for me. 6 of those are probably like variant covers and non-DC. I think Once in Future I missed out on, Eat the Rich I missed out on. So I didn't read any DC books this week. So you're gonna have to cover DC for me.
It's okay. There's only 2 books, and
Okay.
they weren't very good, so it's okay.
Oh no. Well, let's go ahead and let's start with DC then. Like what were the 2 books? Let's start off on a bummer here.
So, I've been on record of saying that Nightwing right now is my favorite series right now, ongoing. DC, Marvel, independent, otherwise. I absolutely love what Tom Taylor has been doing with Nightwing, not necessarily reinventing the character, but bringing back the character that we love, because he hasn't been around very often, thanks to Rick Grayson and memory loss and other fun things like that. Unfortunately, with Nightwing 84, we start to blend or bleed into the Fear State event, which is going on with the entire Bat family right now. I'm tired. Stop giving me fucking events, please. I'm begging you. I hate events so much.
Yeah.
And like, it's Tom Taylor. It's Tom Taylor and all this greatness. Unfortunately, Bruno Redondo is not doing the art on this book, so there is less things to look at, if you get my drift. But this is boring. And it proves that Nightwing really does work best when he's bouncing off of other characters. So the majority of this issue, we see him by himself, and he's stuck in this like internal monologue, and it gets very, very boring and very bland. And then about halfway through, he finally teams up and meets up with Batman, and that's when the jokes start coming in. His wit starts coming in, and even though I'm not here for the plot because the plot is boring and I don't care, it's the dialogue between these 2 characters and the rich history that they have that kind of pushed me through the rest of the issue. There's also been a lot of like controversy online and on Twitter lately, because there are some people out there that it's a very small, minuscule group of, I feel like, female readers where they are coming down on Tom Taylor for his portrayal of Barbara Gordon and of Oracle. I am fucking sick and tired of it. It's basically, prove to me you don't read comic books without proving to me that you don't read comic books. Because if you're unaware of the discourse, these individuals are attacking Tom Taylor and calling him an ableist because he basically is putting Barbara Gordon back into the Batgirl suit and taking her away from Oracle. And listen, it's not Tom Taylor's idea. Tom Taylor has to do what his editors tell him. Right now, Fear State is a big event with Barbara Gordon, and I feel like it's setting her up to become Oracle permanently. But when creators can't have full control, and that's one of the things that happens with the big 2, is when events happen, you really don't get a say in what happens. I mean, I've heard from writers that you were told that you have to have your credits page by page like 3 or 4. You do not get to choose, for the most part, what you are doing. You are there to do a job and get that job done and execute it well. And that's what's happening with Nightwing and with Fear State now in particular. So all I got to say is buzz off, let the man write what he has to write, and you'll get your Oracle eventually.
I think that when it comes to that, with Barbara Gordon being Oracle and, if she's in a wheelchair, I feel like a lot of the discourse is, it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if she is in a wheelchair, then we don't like the circumstances that put her in a wheelchair 100% for like good fucking reason. But then I think that when she comes out of the wheelchair, it's like, well, then you're ableist. So I think that even though I don't want to be one of those, like, I see both sides of the story, but I see like merit on both of them. But I think ultimately, don't blame this one person. Like, don't blame Tom Taylor to be the figurehead of it, because obviously he can't choose everything that he does. A lot of it does come down to editor choices. But I don't know. To me, that's a tough one. It's not necessarily that I do want to see her in a wheelchair. I think that we 100% need more like disabled representation in comic books. Does it have to be Oracle? Yes or no?
I would be happy to see her take back up the mantle of Oracle. I am definitely one of those people where when Barbara Gordon became Batgirl in the New 52 and was mysteriously, healed, I was kind of like, it kind of borings her character.
It does.
I love seeing her as the woman behind the computer who can rival Batman even though she's in a single room. I love seeing when characters like Savant would attack the clock tower thinking that, because she's helpless and she's in a wheelchair, I can take her, and then he would get his ass kicked. I miss that sense of leadership that comes from a character like Barbara Gordon. And we are starting to see that with the solicitations for the new Batgirl series. So I think Fear State is kind of trying to put her back into that role, but in a less traumatizing way, than what we had originally, which I do appreciate. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah. As far as Nightwing goes, I don't think that I've really heard anyone who has said good things about this issue. Like, of course, this run has been incredible, but pretty much everyone is saying this is not a very good issue. This is the worst issue that I've read so far.
Exactly.
But I understand that it's because of the Fear State event, and I'm sick of events. Like, literally, that's what I'm hearing everyone say. So even though I don't think that opinion will ever get rid of the events, like, of course, Marvel and DC are going to keep doing events. And quite honestly, a lot of us are still going to keep buying them. But I don't know.
It is what it is. I'm thankful that I believe that it's only going to be for 2 issues versus Star Wars, which it feels like that's been going on for like 4 months now.
It's ridiculous. Like, not that I am like wholly invested in Star Wars comic books, because I'm literally just reading Dr. Aphra, but I feel like I have been not wanting to read Dr. Aphra because of this event. And I'm of course not picking up the books that come out each week. So I am excited for that to end.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other DC book that you got?
The other DC book that I got was Suicide Squad King Shark #1. Now, this is going to surprise a lot of folks, because I guess I'm known as the #1 fangirl of the King Shark fan club.
Yes.
I hated this. I fucking hated this book. I understand. I get it. This is a easy cash grab, money grab. Suicide Squad movie came out. King Shark's prominent feature. Okay, let's give him a comic book.
Tim Seeley's writing that, right?
Tim Seeley is writing this. I'm fine with that. The problem with this book in particular is it likes to play half comedical or half comical, half serious. It needed to lean either all the way into one or lean all the way into the other, being the comical side, because in this book they really try to make Nanawe just way too fucking serious, whereas in the movie we saw him as kind of this like dumb childlike baby that made a lot of jokes,
beautiful little like himbo,
and a lot of people didn't like that. But then we have to look at books like Suicide Squad New 52 where he acted kind of like that. We have to look at the way Gail Simone portrayed him in Secret Six. This is kind of how he has been portrayed since after the 90s. So in this book, basically, there is a new character that shows up. I think her name is Defacer. She literally is in Belle Rev because she has been graffitiing a bunch of shit.
Defacer. I hardly know her.
First of all, that is the lamest supervillain origin I have ever heard of in my entire life. Anyway, she ends up in Belle Rev. King Shark, Danawe, he ends up getting really attached to her and wants to be friends with her. And I'm like, okay, I kind of see where this is coming from. Why didn't we just have Ratcatcher 2 in this book?
Yeah.
So Amanda Waller sees that and kind of exploits it, because while King Shark is like hers and like knows that she needs him for missions, she apparently has made this deal with King Shark's family where she will return him to his family once a year for some type of ceremony.
Okay.
The only problem is she always struggles with getting him to return home. So she is kind of using this new character as leverage and is like, I can't blow up King Shark because apparently the bombs don't work in his skin, which, okay, sounds like a load of bullshit, but I'm fine. Yeah. I'm okay that he's safe forever.
Amanda Waller would have a backup.
Amanda Waller would have a backup.
She'd have like 5 backups.
So she's basically using this new character as leverage and is like, okay, well, if King Shark doesn't want to come home, then I'll kill you. And I can kind of see where it's going. The biggest problem is that this new character, Defacer, is completely unlikable. She's really annoying. She's really boring. And I just hate her. And the whole time I'm like, why couldn't have just been Ratcatcher 2? Not only that, but I'm going to be a little controversial, okay? Because I understand. I completely understand why we're doing this. It's a moneymaker, a tie-in with the Suicide Squad movie. We even see cameos from characters like Peacemaker, and I believe the Polka Dot Man shows up in the background somewhere. I love King Shark, okay? I love this best boy. I love this best boy. I don't think he is interesting enough to carry a whole miniseries. An oversized one-shot? Absolutely. Being part of a team where there's an arc that maybe focuses on him? Absolutely. I don't think he can carry his own miniseries. I really don't.
Wow. And that one's like a pretty, like, I think it's only 4 issues, right?
It is 6.
Oh, what if it was 4? What, can we meet somewhere in the middle? Can we do 4?
I don't even think that, because the way that this book ends, it ends with them being transported into an alternate dimension where they call it furry Mortal Kombat, which I did not like that. I don't like saying that Mortal Kombat, but with furries. I don't, what year are we in? I'm tired of these. It feels like these like cis white male writers trying to be hip and trying to be cool. I mean, we saw it with Booster Gold and Blue Beetle where they had like the Instagram
Twitter
live, Twitter live. We have this where it's furry Mortal Kombat. I don't need you to patronize me and all of my technology. It's fine.
Yeah. So really quick, I did find out something recently about Mortal Kombat. The theme song for Mortal Kombat is based off of an old like Scandinavian church song.
Really?
Yeah, it's an old Finnish hymn.
I hate this. I hate. Please call 911 and have Jen arrested, please. Thank you. You had me going, and then I just, is it? I don't even have any alcohol here. Why are you doing this early in the morning?
I'm so sorry. 4 people just immediately left because they're like, screw that. So thank you for the like 15 people who are still here. So those are the 2 DC books that you got this week. I've got a whole bunch of DC books waiting for me, and in the chat I heard Miracle Molly and Aquaman were some of the 2 good ones. I've got those waiting for me at the shop, so hopefully should be able to pick those ones up later, because I heard Miracle Molly was actually really, really good. But did you get any Marvel books this week?
I got one single Marvel book.
Which one was that? Was it no? You did get Moon Knight. Okay.
I did get Moon Knight. I definitely like this issue better than last issues.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like we were finally going back in line with the story, where it felt like last issue almost felt like its own separate thing.
Yeah.
I like this. But I feel like that first issue was so good that right now it's almost like everything else is just average. However, this did get me thinking, because this book has a lot of vampires, and it seems like Moon Knight is always fighting vampires. I mean, we see all those old memes like Dracula, give me your fucking money. I kind of want to see a team up book with Moon Knight, Blade, and Elsa Bloodstone.
Let's do it.
I want like a fun Monster Hunter type book. I just think it could be a lot of fun. You could throw Morbius in there if you really want to throw like a morally gray character in there.
I've heard, I keep hearing, and I don't know if it's like a spec thing, where at least I feel like Elsa Bloodstone has been spec'd a lot. So there's a lot of speculation around Elsa Bloodstone. So I think that either she's getting her own series, or she may appear in some movie. You're freaking out right now. Do you need a second?
I love Elsa Bloodstone so much. And I fell in love with her last year. So I put out, a call for help, because it's like, I just need more Elsa Bloodstone. So I was unaware of this news. If I can get an Elsa Bloodstone show, if she can show up in an episode, I don't give a shit. A series, I don't care.
I just know, I don't know if there's anything like, this is just, I think that there's some buzz around Elsa Bloodstone, because I mean, of course, like every single fucking first appearance ever in the world is skyrocketing, spiking. But I think that hers was especially, so we'll see. Maybe we'll get her in some type of show, or I hope that we get her in like a show or movie, or her own like miniseries or something.
I would love to see a miniseries, because she's just one of those characters where she's got a fun personality. She just does not give a fuck, and like to have like a fun Monster Hunter type book, I just feel like that could be a lot of fun.
Kind of going back to Moon Knight, I agree with you. I think that the first issue packed so many punches, it's kind of holding back now. I did like, and especially, was it the second issue that we see like Moon Knight just go full like
where he goes into the guy's head?
And I thought that was really interesting. And there were a lot of moments in here, because what's the character's name, and he's basically like, well, I'm the fist of Khonshu, and then Moon Knight's like, no, I'm the fist of Khonshu, and then they just start making out. I'm just kidding. I wish. They both are basically like, well, like he can have two fists.
And I did like that line. I thought that was a very clever line, when it was like, well, Khonshu can have two fists. I was like, oh shit, okay, you right.
So I think that, this is going to be that classic enemies to friends trope. Maybe they'll kiss, maybe they'll make out. I really don't know. But I do think that maybe they'll kiss. I don't know. So I do think that they'll end up finding that like common enemy and teaming up and fighting. That's what I think is going to happen. So
definitely, for sure. I think I personally, because I love Jeff Lemire's run of Moon Knight so much, and I think it's because it goes deeper into the psychology of Moon Knight. And we were starting to see that with the first issue. I would like to see Moon Knight break away from just your stereotypical vigilante type book, and go a little bit deeper into that psychological aspect, because it is a big part of his character.
Yep, for sure. One of the other books this week that came out, I don't know, you said that was the only Marvel book that you got? Well, I got 3. One of them was X-Men number 3, and I feel like I'm not loving this series as much as I thought I would. There's some really great moments with some characters. Like, we get some really cool, kind of cute X-23 moments. We get some moments where this is just basically like a punch 'em. Everybody's punching each other kind of issue. But there's this really great moment between like Polaris punches somebody that I thought was really cool, and everybody's teaming up. But I feel like I'm wanting more out of this, and I haven't gotten it. So
womp womp.
Womp womp. I'm still going to be picking up X-Men, but it may just fall to the bottom of my list. Plus, Rogue's in it, and I just don't like Rogue. I'm sorry.
That is a controversial take.
It is.
Don't like Rogue.
I don't. So here's the thing. I don't like Rogue because as someone who has lived in the South, I think her accent sounds fake. Like, every time I hear her accent on like the X-Men show, the cartoon show, anytime I've heard her accent, and I don't like it. It doesn't sound like an authentic Southern accent to me.
Okay.
And then I read that in the comic books as well, and I'm like, this just sounds fake to me, like the whole sugar, like. And anyways, I don't like it. I
See,
also don't like Gambit. I hate Gambit as well. So I mean,
okay, now she's really. Are you even an X-Men fan?
no.
Okay. Okay. Well, to derail a little bit, because you did mention X-Men show, and this has been something that's been on my mind a lot this week for some weird reason. And chat, you can jump in on this too. Did you ever watch the animated series Wolverine and the X-Men?
Maybe.
Because I've been thinking about it a lot. It is on Disney Plus right now, and I remember watching it when I was younger when it was airing. And it's one of those shows where, to me, I think it's even better than the 90s X-Men that we all grew up with. And it's unfortunate because we only got one season. And I remember that season ending on such a cliffhanger where I think we were going to get Age of Apocalypse, maybe. I don't know. I'm not an X-Men fan. I remember my brother being excited and being like, oh my God, they're doing this storyline. Meanwhile, my brother doesn't read comics. He simply Wikipedia's comics. So whatever. I guess that's a weird thing people do. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way.
You're right, it is. Wikipedia is free.
But I remember so many arcs going on. I remember seeing so many characters, and I feel like it introduced me to so many characters. Emma Frost, Scarlet Witch, you had Polaris, and it's just one of those shows that I feel like I need to sit down and do a rewatch and kind of do a deep analysis on, because I went to go and like Google stuff and look at other YouTube channels where people maybe discussed it, and it was like silence. Like, I feel like, did this show just really slip under the rug that hard because it was on Nickelodeon? Or is it possibly the greatest X-Men adaptation we've ever gotten?
Maybe it could also be, my conspiracy theory brain is like, maybe it's the Mandela effect.
Maybe it's the Mandela effect. Maybe it's real.
Is it even real? Maybe it like slipped time consciousness, and it's like there's only some people who remember like X-Men and Wolverine, and some people know Wolverine and X-Men, and they're like, which one is it? Is it Bernstein or is it Bernstein Bears?
We'll never know.
We'll never know, unless you watch it on Disney Plus and do an analysis. I would love to see that for sure.
For sure. But what other Marvel books did you pick up this week?
So the other Marvel books that I got this week, I did end up also picking up X-Men Onslaught. This one's pretty cool. It's basically, I finally did finish it. It's done by Cy Simon Spurrier, who I really appreciate as a writer. I think very underrated.
We're doing Way of X. Is that still running or is that done?
So this, from what I understand, this is basically the Way of X finale. So I think that it would be tough to go into this without having read Way of X, because it explores, I know it's like it's been said as religion and very much like Nightcrawler is that religious like character. But I do think basically like what this is posing, and there's a quote in here that's like, so for those of you who don't know, with the X-Men right now, X-Men who've died can be regenerated, right? And so it's basically asking, well, if a mutant dies on Monday and gets resurrected on Wednesday, where were they on Tuesday? And like what happened? Like, and so it's tying in like all of these like religious kind of aspects, or maybe less religious and more philosophical, which I thought was really interesting. So I did have to go back, reread the last 2 issues of Way of X, and then read this, and it hit. So it was pretty good. But if you're not reading Way of X, I don't think that
you might get a little lost.
Yeah, I don't think Onslaught is going to make very much sense at all.
That, and it's Cy Spurrier, and everything I've read by Cy Spurrier is just dense as fuck.
Have you read The Spire?
I started to read The Spire, and I was very excited to read The Spire, and it's so dense that I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's good, but I think that I was reading The Spire at the same time I was also reading East of West, and not that necessarily the two are comparable, but like I think it both of them get fuzzy, and East of West was just a lot more enjoyable, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
I did also pick up this cover for Marvel Girl. It's like one of the trading cards, so I thought that was really cool. So definitely a cover by there. My last X-Men book is actually The Death of Doctor Strange. So, spoiler alert, Doctor Strange dies in this. It was pretty interesting. And there is the cute little dog Bats, who is a ghost. And I thought that was really cute because it basically,
Ghost dog.
Bats walks in and is like, we need walkies. And Stephen, Doctor Strange, is basically like, why do you need to be walked? You are a ghost dog. And he's like, the walkies are for you, Mr. Strange. Like, you need to make sure that you exercise. And it's just really adorable. And spoiler alert, Doctor Strange does die, but there's like a twist at the end, so it's intriguing enough to want more. So I did pick up the A cover. I also picked up, because the Peach Momoko cover that just it doesn't do it justice. Like you can kind of see some like cosmic galaxy goodness in there. That's really pretty. And then of course I got the Scotty Young one. Yep. So those, I feel like I did pick up more Marvel books, but I can't find the rest of my stack, so I don't know where they're at. So what are the books did you pick up?
For indie books, we had the finale of Old Guard Tales Through Time. I gotta say, this is all right. Let me talk about the individual issue before I go overall. So this issue is done. There's 2 stories, as there have been in every single one. The first story is by Vita. Oh goddamn, Hostway's not here to correct me. It's by our pal Vita.
Vita Ayala.
I think you're right. By Vita Ayala and Nicola Scott on the art, which God bless Nicola Scott, because Nicola Scott is just a babe in everything that she draws. The second story is by Greg Rucka and I can't think of his first name, but Fernandez. So the original artist on Old Guard. I actually really, really liked the Vita and Nicola Scott story a whole lot, because it had to deal with Booker, because Booker has been isolated from the rest of the group after the events of the first Old Guard. And it is his birthday, and even though they are shunning him, they don't want to completely ignore him. So it's basically about Andy and oh shit, what is her name? The other character. The other female character that they find, but it's about those 2 characters basically breaking into a museum to get Booker his son's doll that was given to him when he went off into the French War. And you get this really emotional moment at the end where Andy and her partner are sitting up on the roof and basically watching as Booker, gets this present and breaks down, and it's, this happy birthday book moment. The second story by Greg Rucka, which I was really excited for because I'm like, okay, we're going back to the roots. And I really enjoyed his piece in the first one. I can't even tell you what it's about because it didn't even make any sense and it didn't feel like it connected with any of the characters.
That sucks. Do you feel like, if you don't mind me asking, do you feel like he knew what was going on, but like no one else did, or that like
it's possible, and it's also very possible too that it could have been setting up for the third arc of Old Guard.
That makes sense.
So I'll kind of transition because this was the finale for Old Guard's Tales Through Time, which if you have not known, it has been an anthology series. I have had a lot of issues with this anthology series as it's been going on over the past 6 months. I was really excited for this because I feel like there's a lot of potential that you can tap into characters that have lived thousands, if not millions of years in some specs. And it unfortunately just did not do that. A lot of the stories, there might have been 1 or 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that really stuck with me. I think a lot of that suffers from the fact that each issue is 2 different stories. Also, we have a partner today, and I love Luna so much. Each issue is 2 stories, and I feel like that kind of, you don't have enough page time to tell a proper story about somebody who has such a long life as these characters. I feel like it would have benefited if each individual issue was just a story. But better yet, I feel like we could have just completely done without this anthology series, and we could have gotten the 3rd arc to Old Guard. So I don't know. I'm really disappointed because this is one of the series I was looking forward to most this entire year, especially because I became obsessed with the Old Guard in like November, obsessed, and it just did not live up to its potential.
I also I like the idea of an anthology series because people don't necessarily have to read all of them in order to get it. I'll be completely honest, I would hate for someone who watched the Netflix movie, really enjoyed it, go into this anthology series and pick up an issue or two and be like, what the fuck is going on? And maybe not even read the first volume, because I think the first volume is pretty good. I haven't read the second volume. I feel like
the second volume's pretty good. It's definitely not as strong as the first one, but you can definitely see where, because the movie, believe it or not, kind of spoils the second volume a little bit, which was one of, I think, my biggest gripes going into it. So I feel like if you can put aside that factor, if you haven't watched the movie at all and are just reading the books, I think you might enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't mind trying to go back and reading all of these, but at the same time, I'm probably not going to. I'm probably not going to pick up the trade. Is that horrible?
No, because I feel the same way.
Got it.
I feel the same exact way.
Well, there was another that's published by Image. There was another book published by Image that I got that's a series that I'm a really big fan of, and that is Philadelphia. This is issue number 17, and Philadelphia is basically this incredible story about this police officer, this detective in Philadelphia. His father dies. He has to return, and spoiler alert, there's a vampire outbreak in Philadelphia. And more of a spoiler alert, it's the person at the helm of the vampire outbreak is John Adams, second president, third president. So it's a really great series, and this book, just whether it's the actual plot of this going on, whether it goes more into the father-son relationship that's going on, and it's just, this book is absolutely stunning. Travis, TM Nerdy, if you are still here in the chat, my friend, can you tell me if you have the first volume of Philadelphia? I know you said that you didn't have it, so I want to make sure. So anyways, really good, issue number 17.
Philadelphia is one of those, because that's one that I'm reading by trade. You're reading it by single issue. I'm reading it by trade, and I believe the third trade actually just dropped, so I need to pick that up.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia is one of those really weird premises that I feel like shouldn't work, because it blends history and horror together, and that's not something we've seen, but it works, and it works outside of a stupid gimmick. So I mean, we've seen things like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and stuff like that, but
this is not that.
This really does ground it, and it makes you kind of well, what if this actually did happen, and it takes these historical figures that we know and builds upon them, because I know I knew nothing about John Adams before I started reading this, and it's just interesting to see how it's modernized and horrorized. And Rodney Barnes is just a phenomenal writer in general, and hashtag Rodney Barnes for Swamp Thing.
Rodney Barnes for Swamp Thing, 1000%. I really hope, I've heard that it sounds like after this run of the Levi Swamp Thing, we're going to get a Jeff Lemire written short, DC Black Label, 3 or 4 issue run. And then Rom V has said something about Swamp Thing continuing, so I'm very curious. I would love for Rom V to continue to be on it, but I would also 100%, I need Rodney Barnes to be writing Swamp Thing 100%.
I think it'd be really great.
Yep. So yeah, like you said, this could be really gimmicky, where it's vampires in Philadelphia, but it's not going to be one of those vampire Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or the zombie one. It's not going to be like that. It is incredible. It's really good, and just continually just tugs at my heart, and just it's fantastic. So I'd highly recommend it.
And it's getting, I believe next month we are getting the spin-off series of it as well.
I think next week.
Next week it is?
It might be next week. So it's Nita Ha's Nightmare blog, which is going to be
that's in Baltimore, I believe.
Yep. So I'm excited for that, for sure. One of the other books by Image, I think that you and I are going to have conflicting feelings on I know that we kind of do have conflicting feelings about Frontiersman. what are some of your feelings on this book? 'Cause I know I enjoyed it.
I wanted to like this book, okay?
Yeah.
This book was solicited of, if you're a fan of Green Arrow, you're gonna love this book. And I'm like, well,
Oh,
God,
what? No
yes.
wonder why you didn't like it.
That's how this book was solicited, was if you're a fan
No.
of Green Arrow, you're gonna love this book. And I'm like, well, damn, I'm a hoe for Green Arrow, so I'm definitely gonna love this book. I hated this. I actually didn't even finish it. I stopped at the last like 3 or 4 pages because I was just so done with it. I can see what they're trying to do with this, where it's like this eco green man who is living off of the grid, and now he has to basically become a superhero to combat against capitalism and combat against global climate change and things like that. I'm like, that could be a really great premise. But I feel like this had the same problem as King Shark did, where it needed to either lean all the way into the wacky and weird, or lean all the way into the super serious, you know, researched with just facts and things like that. And I feel like it didn't do either. I feel like it kind of played that line, because I absolutely love the art in this book. I think the art in this book is fantastic, but there was a lot of points where I'm struggling and I had to keep going back and forth. And if you know me, again, goopy gobble brain, if I have to keep going back and forth and I can't focus on your book, I'm not really gonna force myself to do that. So wanted more from this, and this, I hate to say it, I don't even think I would read it in a trade.
Wow. So I still really liked this book. I actually, maybe it's because I went in just being like, it's an Image first. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. I'm going to buy it and read it. And especially with the cover, I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but reading it, I got it. I got the premise. And then I think what almost sold it even more for me was the letter in the back, where they basically talk. So there's a letter in the back, and let me pull it up so I like.
And I didn't finish this, so of course I didn't see the letter in the back.
And I think that the letter in the back at least would intrigue me to read more, because the writer shares about kind of like the comic book industry and how the comic book industry works. And it does say 1 month is the best superhero comic on the shelves. I don't necessarily think that this is going to do that, but I thought it was really interesting. And anyways, it's at least compelling me to read the rest of it. And I do think that if you go into the back and like you see some of the
they have like character bios, kind of like DC used to do the Who's Who back in the 70s and 80s. And more modernly, we saw that with Black Hammer.
Yes.
And so I see it's trying to do a Black Hammer, but it's not Black Hammer. There's nothing. Black Hammer really took characters that people could get attached to, took tropes that we were familiar with.
Yeah.
I feel like this doesn't do that. I can see where it's coming from. I can see what it wants to do, but I think it's too afraid to push that boundary.
So after reading, so I did not get any Black Hammer vibes from it whatsoever, but I think that if it's trying to do that, I'm here for it. And then also seeing the, like, I don't know if you still have it, but if you open up to the very last page and it shows the cover, it looks like they're going galactic, like cosmic, like it looks like they're going into space. And so I'm like, there we go. That sells me on the next issue 100%. Tell me we're going into space. And
but why?
Because they're going into space.
He's a fucking I don't want to say eco-terrorist, but he's an environmentalist. Why is he going to space?
You're gonna have to find out in the next issue.
I'm just gonna read Green Arrow. I like what Taylor Winder said. Frontiersman is the more annoying version of Oliver Queen. I kind of agree. Maybe it's just because I love Oliver Queen, but
yeah,
hear me out. Give me a Green Arrow book instead.
Yeah, can we get Green Arrow in space? Would that even work?
He doesn't have to go to. Why would he go to space? How is he going to get to space? I mean, I know he's a millionaire, but how is he going to get to space?
Billionaires go into space and then he kills them in space.
Oh no! It's going to be a space race between him and Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor.
There you go. The shit writes itself.
No, I don't like this at all. I am sad now. It does write itself. But here's a question: between the three, between Bruce Wayne, Lex Luthor, and Oliver Queen, who gets a penis rocket?
Oh, I would say Lex Luthor.
I would say Oliver Queen. And he
Wow.
would do it without realizing it.
Oh, okay. And then feel really bad about it.
Or
Got
just
it.
think it's really funny. Like, I could see him in his suit all ready to go. Black Canary's there to give him his final kiss goodbye. And she looks and is like, Ollie, you built a penis.
Yeah. Percent. So once again, because I'm here to write the DC fanfic, the naughty fanfic that everyone wants. Did you know, Mars, because I've done a lot of research on space, did you know that in space, reverse cowgirl and doggy style are the same thing?
Huh. Interesting.
Also, people have to poop in like Ziploc bags. That's like
that's fun.
It's horrifying.
It's fun.
One of the other, I'm going to go with this one because I want to save one of my favorites for last. Did you happen to pick up Impossible Jones?
I did. What is that? I did not.
So Impossible Jones is this. So I got the two covers.
Oh,
it's published. Cute. It is. So it's published by Scout, and it is this young woman who's like a bank robber, and she ends up getting superpowers, and she's like, so kind of spoiler alert because at the end, but she's basically like, I get superpowers and I'm going to use them for good, but first I'm going to get the people who betrayed me. And so you can tell that like there's this really cool character arc, and this is wacky and it's zany, and it reminds me of the like Darwin Cook era of DC. If that makes any sense, like maybe some of the like animated series. At the beginning, we get this like hokey Christmas character called Holly Days, and it's kind of wacky, but it's fun, and I enjoyed it. And
that's very exciting.
Yeah, so it's published by Scout, issue number 1. I really hope what Scout normally does is they publish issue number 1 and then you wait like 3 months for issue 2. So I'm really hoping that we don't wait until like December for it. But anyways, it was good. I liked it. And I really like this cover too.
That is a very cute cover. I like that a lot.
Yep. I do also, I have 2 issues of number 1. So maybe I'll send that to you in whatever like next box I can send you. I have one last book right here in front of me.
I have 2.
What's one of yours?
Well, the one last book, I know which one it is. It's your favorite, so I'll save that until the end. But Etherics Number 2 came out this week. I really enjoyed this because so the premise of this story is, it's this young girl who has a boyfriend who, his family is, they're billionaires, they're rich. And she's meeting his family for the first time. And we learn at the end of issue 1 that they are basically cannibals and they eat their staff. And she walks in on it, and that's how the issue ends. And I'm like, okay, kind of feels like Ready or Not, and I love that movie. So I was down for the premise, but it's a very predictable plot. And I was like, so what are we going to do in order to kind of keep us hooked? Issue 2 did that. I won't spoil it because I know you haven't read it yet, but issue 2, it's nothing major, but issue 2 kind of introduces themes and another sort of, I don't want to say twist, but it gives us, there's another motivator in here of why this is happening. And it kind of makes you think, okay, well, what is going on here? And it really does does what the title says, where it says eat the rich, and it makes you think about our society, and kind of gives you that sort of purge feeling, for lack of a better word, because the Purge movies did the same thing, where it kind of spoke in a capitalist, way, and how, the poor will get poorer and the rich will get richer. So I'm really, really excited for issue 3 because if it keeps doing what it's doing, where, okay, we have these themes we're very familiar with, but how can we shake it up? I'm here for that. And I felt like this is what this book needed to do. And it's continuously doing it.
Excellent. Because, I read the first issue and I felt like it needed to like pump up the either gruesomeness of it or because the title of it is Eat the Rich, and basically, kind of spoiler alert, the poor get eaten at the end of it. So I feel like I definitely would need issue 2 to like go a little bit more radical if it were. So, and this is this an
it doesn't necessarily go a little bit more radical, but it gives us a little bit more motivation into why things are happening, and kind of gives us an internal conflict that we as readers have to consider and think about alongside the main character.
Got it. Okay. That'll be I'll be curious to read that one then. I'll probably be picking that along with my DC books, and I think what else? Once in Future I missed out on, and there was like one or two others. So hopefully I'll get those today. The last bit of books that I have right here in front of me, I'm missing like half my stack, but I guess that was the stack that I didn't really read, so doesn't matter. But the last book on my list that I loved so much was Killer Queens issue 2. This book is so much gosh darn fun. Please tell me you liked it. Okay.
It's so great. I love this book. It's so much fun. I love the fact that so issue 2 started off as like a smutty romance novel. And I really, really like that. And I just love the fact that this book is just the gayest it can be. I've never thought that I could read gayer in my life. And every time it gets gayer and I'm here for it. I think the worst part about this book is knowing it's only 4 issues, because I want so much more of Killer Queers. Or Killer Queens.
It should be called Killer Queers.
It should be called Killer Queers. I'm not going to lie, but it's Killer Queens.
So David Boer, who is writing this, also writes Canto. And sorry.
It's such a weird, the fact that he writes both Canto and Killer Queens, it's such a strange, I don't know. It's a really weird, those are 2 books where if you threw them to me, I would not expect that the same writer would write both Killer Queens and a book like Canto, because Canto is very child friendly, and not to say that, you know, gays are not, but this book can get a little filthy and a little raunchy. So to kind of premise what's going on here, our 2 characters, Max and Alex, they are stuck in a prison. They have somehow got themselves wound into this sort of revolution that's going on, and they have to escape. And they do so in this book is very horny.
It is very,
this book is extremely,
I would say it's thirsty. Maybe not horny, maybe it's thirsty.
It's thirsty. Okay, okay. Yeah, I agree. But it's just a fun, it's like one of those books that's kind of like The Worst Dudes.
Worst Dudes is totally horny though.
Well, Worst Dudes is horny, but in terms of how ridiculous and how quirky this book is.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an Aubrey Sitterson book for sure. Yeah, they're companion books. Like, read one, and if you like this, then try this. So David Boer, I think that when he wrote Canto originally, it was supposed to be a limited series, but obviously it's gotten its like spin-offs and side quests, as it were. And so I'm really hoping that this gets the same, because I could literally, to me, this is like gay Star Trek.
Yes.
And even though, like, I have a friend who did a gay Star Trek slightly porn parody, this to me is gayer than that. And I love it so much. Please, everyone, like, it's on issue 2. If you can pick this up, please go pick it up. If not, please pick up the trade. It's so good. It's so much fun. Like, I think that in this, like, queer sci-fi that we're getting, like, read this and read Barbalian. Red Planet. It's so good.
It's very good. Very good.
So good. I mean, like, a kiss. It's so good. So anyways, Killer Queens, fantastic. That's pretty much all of the
it was a very light week this week. Very, 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 very light week this week.
I did, you know, I was telling you that I did end up picking up a lot of trades, and hopefully soon you'll find out why I ended up picking up
so many,
a lot of these trades, because I'm going to do a recommendation list. So I won't spoil that, but some of the books that I got that aren't going to be part of the recommendation, I did pick up this book Wolf, which you said that you had but haven't read it either.
Correct.
So curious, because it's a hard-boiled paranormal detective with a death wish has to cope with a sudden responsibility for an orphan teenage girl. Like,
It has that found father, found daughter relationship trope that's my favorite, and that's why I picked it up.
Plus, give us like an apocalypse and like I don't know. I think this is going to be a really fun book. Also, not part of the list that I got. I did get this trade of Daredevil with the new Chip Zdarsky run and whatever, and then Knock 'Em Dead, which was a really good book from Aftershock this last year. So
that one did come out this week.
Yeah. Did you get to read Knock 'Em Dead?
I did not, so I am going to at some point pick up the trade.
Okay, it was really good. I read this single issue, like issue by issue, and it's basically about this comedian who ends up, he's a really shitty comedian. He's really not good at it. And then he ends up getting possessed by another comedian who's actually pretty darn good. So then like he's wrestling with these like literally like inner demons and anyways, it's really, really good. I highly appreciated this. What are you got some
I do. I have some books. I have a combination of both a book that I bought for myself and a library haul. I also picked up the Stray Dogs trade, which came out last week, but that is somewhere over in my TBR stack because I've had that book for a week and it's already been passed around to like 3 people. So, please pick up Stray Dogs. So the book I bought, we'll start with that because it is a big boy, is Satania. This is from a small indie publisher, NBM Graphic Novels. The reason why I picked this up is because if you checked out my horror Halloween spooky reads video last year, which if you can't tell, I'm already prepping for that. I ranted and raved about a little book called Beautiful Darkness, which is one of my favorite books of all time. It's creepy, it's cute, it's a book that I've read like 9 times and it still gives me the heebie-jeebies, so please check it out. If you want more on that, there's a video on my channel where I go in depth on that. However, I learned last week that the same creative team did this, Satania, which has to deal with going through the like 7 circles of hell to search for her lost brother. So I'm really, really hoping that it gives me the same creepy, uncomfortable, but cute kind of feelings that Beautiful Darkness did, because I have yet to find a book that matches that energy. So I'm really, really excited about that. The other books that I picked up from the library, I picked up this is from First Second Books. It's called The Golden Age. I really, really like the artwork in this. It's just it's very, very storybook like, and I like books that kind of don't do traditional art in terms of comics and what we're used to. I don't really know anything about this other than it's mystical knights and fairy tales, so I'm really excited about this one. And then I also picked up the Low Woods, which I actually finished this morning. Kind of settling into the spooky season. This was one that came from DC Black Label and Hill House Comics. It's a very queer, very weird psychological romance, and we must have had the same brain frequency this week because we did not talk about this, and yet you picked it up too, which I think is funny.
I ended up picking it up 100% because Katie at Books with Pictures, the owner, gave me some incredible recommendations, which you'll find out about later. So anyways, the Low Woods, I'm like, I feel like I should have read that, and I didn't, and so she recommended it, and of course I picked it up because I will literally buy anything she tells me to.
And then the last book I picked up was Occupy Avengers, which is a Clint Barton heavy book. And spoiler alert, I am working on a books you should be reading for Hawkeye type of video, where it's just books that either are directly inspired by the show, or books that inspired the show, and or books that I feel like are just representative of the characters that we're going to see. And this is one of those books that has always eluded me. So I'm going to give this one a read and see if it makes the cut.
That's excellent. Very cool. I feel like it's a little bit shorter of a show today.
It's a very short show today.
But, at the same time, I think that the last couple of weeks we've been doing the show, it's been like, okay, we missed a week. Let's talk about 2 weeks worth of books. But you know what? While we've got you all gathered here, let's go ahead and do this. And let's go ahead and maybe talk about some books that we're going to pick up next week. Because I know, like, I was looking at next week's books and I'm like, this is going to be a big week, and I am excited.
I had a cell phone that had all of the stuff that I was going to pick up, and it has disappeared. So hopefully I can do this off the top of my head.
I'll go ahead and I'm on previews. So next week, starting with Image, we've got crossover number 8. And it looks like there's this really cool variant cover. I'm sorry using that. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like really cool. It looks really cool to me. So I'm really excited. I really like crossover. I don't think are you picking it up?
So it's weird because I thought I was, and there was that weird Chip Zdarsky arc, and I had picked up the Chip Zdarsky issue.
It was one, yeah.
There was one issue. I thought there was supposed to be a second issue, and I never got it.
No, just one.
I thought there was supposed to be a second. I could have swore there was a second one on preview.
This is issue number 8, and that's coming out. And maybe if this is, I don't think it's written. I don't think this one's done by Chip Zdarsky.
It feels like it's been at least 2 months since crossover has come back.
100%. So this one's written by Donny Cates. So issue number 8. Next week we also get Adventure Man. If you were reading that, it's done by Matt Fraction and the Dodsons. So Terry and Rachel Dodson are doing that. It was a pretty good book. Department of Truth number 13.
We get the finale of Die.
We do. So Die number 20 finally comes out, and I'm pretty excited about that. Even though Die has been an incredible series, I needed it to wrap up. And apparently I was told that Kieran Gillen is taking over something at Marvel, but I can't remember what it was. So
it's just going to be interesting because of how Die has been going. It's going to be really interesting to see because it feels like there's so many loose threads right now.
Yep.
How he's going to manage to do it in the span of an issue. I personally don't think he's going to be able to do it, but I'm definitely interested to see how this garbage fire happens.
Yeah. I know you said that you didn't love Echolands. I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to pick up Echolands number 2 tomorrow. Geiger that's the second printing. Good Asian number 5 comes out. Our favorite Mirka Andolfo Sweet Paprika is coming out. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go on to Dark Horse. There's this Children of the Plague one-shot that's coming out that looks pretty good.
I believe that ties in with the Hellboy universe. I believe.
Oh, okay. Sometimes those are hit or miss for me, so we'll see with that. Apparently Stranger Things Tomb of Ibwen comes out, and it looks like it's a 1 of 4, so it's a mini series. So let's see here. IDW. It looks like there's some G.I. Joe, there's a Godzilla World of Monsters trade that comes out, and I'm kind of excited about that. There's also a Mary Curie, A Quest for Light graphic novel that's coming out. The Scarenthood. Did you read that last year?
That was awful. I didn't
that
like
book.
it.
I didn't like it either,
so
but
bad.
The trade comes out. Star Trek Voyager 7's Reckoning comes out, and that was one of my actually favorite Star Trek books I've ever read, or comics that I've read, even though Voyager is not one of my favorite series of Star Trek, but I did like 7's Reckoning. Let's see here.
We have, I know DC Comics is a little bit stacked. We have the finale of Strange Adventures is coming, so that means I'm finally going to be able to read all of Strange Adventures because I've been kind of hoarding them because it's one of those books that you just have to read all together. Robin comes out, and I'm very excited for Robin. We're finally going to get to see the next arc and where that goes. And then a really weird book that I am excited for, but I'm also very just confused about is Deathstroke Inc. So it is a Deathstroke Black Canary team up book, which is hilarious to me because I always associated Deathstroke as being a big villain for Green Arrow and for Black Canary in particular. So hear me out, DC Comics. I know this book is already done and it's already printed, but I kind of want to see them fuck.
Ooh.
Listen, Black Canary has already had sex with Ra's al Ghul. Why not add Deathstroke to that itinerary as well?
Or both.
Just let it happen. I want to see that weird I know it's not going to happen because I know this is a stereotypical dude book, but I kind of want to see that, romance trope where it's like, I have to team up with you, but I really don't want to team up with you. And then a little romance forms.
Enemies to lovers. Let's do it.
Well, maybe not lovers, but like fuck buddies. I'd be okay. Because her one love is Green Arrow. Like,
that is true.
Let's put that there. Her one love is Green Arrow, but I wouldn't mind seeing her get a little Deathstroke action, kind of live vicariously through her.
Yeah.
I think it would be really great. That's all I'm gonna say.
Is Deathstroke part of the Scumbag boyfriend army?
He is not. And you know what? He really should be, but I feel like you can't give Deathstroke a title of boyfriend. I feel like he is like Scumbag boyfriend daddy. Scumbag daddy? Scumbag daddy.
Ooh.
Scumbag daddy army. Should that be? Oh, should that
it is
be
now.
We could throw Darkseid in there.
Yeah.
We could throw Thanos in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a second.
Magneto is kind of there. But...
Magneto's in there?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. More to come on that later.
More to come on that.
More to come on.
Any other DC books coming out?
Those are the ones that I'm picking up. There might be more, but those are the ones that matter. Let Deathstroke fuck.
Let Deathstroke fuck. So for Marvel, we've got Amazing Fantasy number 3. Apparently there's Amazing Spider-Man number 74, which has like 100 different covers for it. So
variants. Why?
I have no clue. I know that there's a Miles Morales anniversary. So there's actually a couple of really good covers that look interesting, but we'll see. Black Cat number 10. I don't know anyone who's reading Black Cat, so if you are, please tell me.
Inferno number 1.
Darkhawk number 2 comes out, and I liked number 1. But yes, Inferno is coming out, and
I'm very excited about that. I just want to see Mystique go batshit.
100%. That's the only reason. We are also getting Extreme Carnage Omega number 1, so I've kind of been reading some of the Carnage stuff. And let's see here. That's a second printing. Star Wars, Bounty Hunter stuff, some Thor, Wolverine, Winter Guard. Okay, skip Dynamite. Boom. We get Berserker number 5 of 12. I did not know it was going to be a 12-issue series. Is that something that recently got announced?
Why does Berserker even exist? I don't know. Please comment if you are still reading Berserker. How many titties has he bitten? Apparently
is there blood
he's done
titties?
At least 2.
Yeah. Apparently the first trade of Berserker is coming out next week too. So if someone did want to, they could catch up. And it looks like there's a Firefly. But I'm not really reading Firefly comics, and Something is Killing the Children number 20 is coming out. Okay. Let's see here. The Autumnal trade paperback that apparently the cover is too scary for Amazon.
It is too scary for Amazon. Apparently it's been taken. You can still buy it on Amazon, but you can't find it on Amazon. Like, you can only find it through a link or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I personally, I don't like the cover they used for it. I think they should have just went with the cover for issue 1. I feel like that cover is way more engaging than the weird girl with a stick through her eye that apparently is too scary for Amazon.
Hear me out. I think that this is giving it a lot of publicity, and I would also say, if like Grimes, you want to break up with a billionaire, go and buy it from your local comic book shop.
True. This is very true. Very, 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 very
So if
true.
Amazon doesn't want to sell you a scary comic, then go and pick it up from your local comic book shop.
Another book that's coming out from Volt Comics, Human Remains.
Yes.
It looks very, very cool, and I'm very excited for that because I keep joking, but I'm also being, wholly serious. Feels like, at least with me, I go into waves with Volt Comics where it's up and down on which ones I really like and which ones I really hate. And I feel like I'm in that phase right now where I'm not liking them. I didn't like Dead Box. Yeah. I didn't like Blue Flame. I didn't like the last book you'll ever read. So we're 3 books through. I think it's time for me to finally like a book again. So fingers crossed that Human Remains can bring it home.
You liked Cinnamon, right?
I loved Cinnamon, and then my shop didn't order number 2 for me, so they better order number 3 for me.
So 3 of 3. So this is going to be a short series. So hopefully the trade comes out by the end of the year. I did see that my favorite book of the year, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, the trade is not being published till January, which kind of pisses me off because it would have been a perfect like Christmas gift book or holiday gift book. So let me keep going through this list here. Devil's Red Bride, which was one of my favorites. The trade paperback is coming out, so excited for that. A book called Dix. I don't know. I'm going alphabetically here, people.
A book called Dix. Interesting.
There's also a book being published by Titan Comics, which has been doing a lot of that like crime noir. There's a book that's coming out called Gun Honey, and every time I read the title, I see gun horny on it. I mean,
might be.
As one does. I see Human Remains, which is getting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 covers. So I think that they're banking on this book.
I think if I read properly, that one has already gone to second printing.
Wow. Okay. So definitely going to try to pick that one up. Hopefully it's good. Let's see here. There's a lot of manga on here. There's this book by Scout Comic Books that the cover doesn't look good. But Scout issue number 1s are always hit or miss, and it's called Night of Cadillacs. And it's 1 of 2. So maybe, Out of Body number 4, which has been a weird ass book, is coming out, published by Aftershock. And there's another book called Party and Pray, and it's a graphic novel, and it's written by Steve Orlando. I am super excited for this. I'm going to read this really quick. Alan is used to being ignored by younger guys, so he hardly believes his luck when the little handsome Scott makes a move on him in the crowded gay club. But there's a wolf on the dance floor tonight, and he's hungry for fresh prey. So it's basically gay werewolves. Yes, please, and thank you.
Gay werewolves.
Secret Life, which looks like a graphic novel, looks kind of good. I think that might be it because I'm on U and V. Yep, that looks like it. Other than, yeah. So those are all the books coming out next week, or at least the ones that we're probably going to get.
Yep. Horny Deathstroke. That's all I want.
Horny Deathstroke. Horny Scumbag Boyfriend Army.
Always.
Scumbag Daddy Boyfriend Army.
Scumbag Daddy Boyfriend. Scumbag Daddy Army.
Scumbag Daddy Army. Folks, well, I think that's pretty much it. I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching, everyone on the rewind that's watching. It sounds like we both have some stuff that we'll be trying to work on for both of the channels. So we'll see if we get those. I'll see if I'll get them. I probably won't. But you've got some really cool stuff coming up. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to leave? Just tell people to go and subscribe to your channel.
I mean, just go subscribe because we're talking about the Scumbag Daddy Army, and that's actually a very good hint at what is to come on my channel. I never realized that. Scumbag Daddy Army. There's stuff relating to that coming up soon on the channel. Like I said, Halloween's coming up, so I'm definitely planning on doing a spooky horror comic Halloween recommendation list. So please drop your recommendations either here or in my Instagram DMs, whichever works best for you. And then I'm planning on doing a Hawkeye recommended reading, which was one of the first ever videos I did on my channel. So it's going to kind of be a little bit of a redux, but it's going to be a little bit more updated and more pertaining to the show. So, and of course we got to keep everything relevant. So
yeah,
it's a lot of stuff that hopefully is going to be hitting the channel soon.
That's awesome. You know, I get like obviously from you, like I get little like sneak peeks and things like that. And like every time like you send me something and you're like, can you read this for me? Or like, can you? And I'm like, I'm in love with all of it. So I'm, I know I'm just as excited as everyone in the chat to,
Jenna's very
to see
excited.
these. I am. And then to Miss So's point, Crimson Flower by Dark Horse. I really loved that series this last year.
That was definitely that was our dark horse of the year, literally,
Yeah.
because it was a book that we both hated.
Hated the
Absolutely
first
hated.
issue.
Hated the first
Hated.
issue. And then ended up kind of really falling in love with it throughout the year. So it's definitely one of those don't judge a book by its shitty art.
No.
Books.
The art definitely grew on me. I really appreciated it. Very like weird and kinetic, but
weird Russian folklore fantasy.
Ooh, yeah. Loved it. So anyways, that's the show, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, go subscribe to this beautiful lady's channel, That Comic Girl, and we will see you hopefully sometime next week. Bye.